we go.
Yeah,
Okay, now, boys.
What's up? What's up?
Murder this man. Alrighty then. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Craig, first of all, what are you wearing? Can you please show the people?
Everybody stand up.
Give us a spin. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful.
Oh, stunning. I love that. Where did you get that, Craig?
I had to go to strictlyfighters.com /shop. And once I got there, I purchased myself a hoodie.
Lovely.
Listen, guys, if you are listening to the audio version right now, stop yourself and get to YouTube to check this bad boy out.
Yeah, for sure.
And
when you get to Craig, YouTube,
there we go. I introed you, but please go ahead.
When you get to YouTube, give us a like, little subscribe, ring the bell.
Like
it'll tell you that when to come back and come and watch our shit.
It's called a notification.
It's a notification, yeah. Comment, especially comment. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Even when you're wrong, it's all right. We read it anyway. Anyway, all right.
I may not always be right, but I'm never wrong.
It's also debatable.
Profound.
Jeez, massive traction on that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
Not much agreement. Oh, here we go. Okay, let's go.
What's up? Legends League.
Spin the wheel of fortune. Spin it.
While we wait, Jay, what do you think of that nice little tidbit I sent you earlier before you announce the Legends League?
Tidbit?
Yeah, the little bit of information that I sent to you about what's his name? Willie Nelson.
Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka. Willie Nelson.
Willie?
He's a what's it? Second or third degree black belt in Taekwondo.
For those who don't know, Willie Nelson he is a country singer right out of the south of the US. Had no idea he's
a glorified hillbilly.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a legend. What are you on about?
Yeah, he learned how to fight when he had to take on the cops in his moonshine running days.
I think you're conflating that with the movie.
Yes.
Wasn't he? No, wasn't he star in that movie, The Hills Have Eyes?
No. But he
Sorry,
did.
I seem to be mistaken.
No, he was in the Dukes of Hazzard. That's the
which is now no longer available. Like you can't watch that anymore.
Yeah, because it's controversial.
Exactly controversial.
Controversial.
All right.
Oh,
it's very cool. Shaun, he was a pioneer of video coaching in a way, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, essentially. He started out watching instructional videos. That's how he started learning. It's really interesting.
What is the best way in the modern day to do video coaching?
To watch yourself.
His story was he was on tour so much that he couldn't train or go to a dojo consistently and study under anyone, sensei or master or whatever they call that in Taekwondo. So he used to record himself training in his tour truck and send videos to his coach for feedback, which is essentially what Strictly Fighters does. So
how big was this Braz bass, bro?
How big was his? I'm not sure.
Yeah, see.
Let's get into it. Who's the legends?
Yeah, let's
Canelo Alvarez versus Chuck Liddell.
Yo.
Oh.
No holds barred, eh?
Yes, sir.
We'd have to give it to Chuck.
Yeah, I'd also say Chuck Liddell. I mean, yes.
He's a UFC Hall of Famer.
This is the thing with boxing and MMA fighters. In a no holds barred match, what the UFC or the MMA fighter ultimately is going to try and do is get the fight to the ground, because they will always have more experience and expertise in fighting on the ground than a boxer.
Yeah.
What I think we might discount slightly is the fact that the fight starts on the feet and boxers can box.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if we, So I think everyone, there's a common consensus that, okay, now it seems like if an MMA fighter fights a boxer in a boxing ring, the boxer's going to win. But that if a boxer fights an MMA fighter in the octagon or in a no-holds-barred fight, that the boxer stands absolutely no chance. And I think that's a little bit unforgiving.
Yeah, I agree to a certain extent. But if you go check Shaun's recent blog post about boxing versus Muay Thai. So like you said, a lot of the times the guys in MMA will try and get the boxer down to the ground if they have the choice. But once again, if he doesn't get him to ground, a lot of the MMA fighters have kicks in their game. They've been training it all their life. So even if they do stay standing, they've still got more weapons than the boxer.
Yeah, they got more range essentially to work with. But I mean, boxers, don't discount them. Like you say, Jay. They boxers are used to fighting in the clinch essentially, like not in the clinch, but in like close proximity. MMA is usually starting outside. When you do get close to each other, you're normally clinching and going to the ground or going against the fence. Boxers, they can take you out as soon as you're trying to close distance if they time it right. I mean, that's what they do. Look at what Ngannou did to what's his name recently, uppercut as he was coming. Yeah, Stipe.
Good old Stipe.
Good old Stipe. He got Stipe with that uppercut as he was coming in, and that's what a boxer would do. Obviously, they'd have to train for doing that, defensive punches as someone's coming to take you down. But I mean, it's not too difficult to adjust your game. Yeah, Chuck Liddell for me.
Yeah, Chuck Liddell.
I'd have to agree with you on that one, despite my previous point. I think Chuck was a light heavyweight, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that.
So he's also a bigger, heavier, stronger man.
A scary dude.
Pound for pound, does that make a difference?
Nah, I think when it comes down to skill set, he's got it. It's just skill set. I mean, give Canelo, dude, put Canelo into MMA and actually have him train that. Dude, he'd be a killer. He'd be really fucking good. But he just doesn't have that yet. He just doesn't now.
But if you put Chuck in a boxing ring, Canelo's going to own him.
Of course. Look at what Mayweather did to McGregor. McGregor is a phenomenal striker. I mean, we shared that meme the other day, or the meme, the video clip of him basically counterpunching. I mean, he got grazed on the nose, and that overhand left gives me goosebumps. Precision, dude, precision. And he was still outclassed by a boxer.
It's the same as what I would imagine to happen if Francis Ngannou goes and boxes Tyson Fury. In my mind, there's just no chance other than a puncher's chance of a ridiculously wild haymaker landing. I mean, if like we know that if Francis lands on your chin, it's lights out. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
But the chances of him landing something like that against somebody like Tyson Fury in a boxing ring are so minimal. You know what I mean?
Cardio, dude. Cardio in boxing is different. Boxing.
Yeah, you saw that with McGregor, right?
Dude,
5-minute rounds is different to 12 3-minute rounds.
Dude, absolutely. And it's standing and it's bouncing and it's something GSP was saying. He was on Joe Rogan recently, and he was saying it's not only the physical endurance, it's also got to do with the neural or the what you call it, this endurance of essentially making someone flinch. Those flinches went down a nervous system, essentially overload the nervous. You can actually train your nervous system to your nervous system, Craig, essentially is dealing. I'm talking to you, Craig, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
And Jay. But this is pretty high level fighting sort of, not theory.
I'm pretty sure I'm the only one here who did biology. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So anyway, the way that you'll see fighters train this, and high level fighters, they'll do lights. So the lights, as they flash, they'll touch the lights. I saw
Joshua does that.
Yeah. So essentially, they're training that aspect. It's got nothing to do with muscle memory or anything like that. It's got to do with essentially increasing the stamina of their nervous system. So what GSP would do in a fight is he was fighting someone, I can't remember what the name was. Essentially, he overloaded his nervous system by making him flinch. And every time he flinched, because he's the guy he was fighting, I can't remember what his name is, man. I think he's got the fastest counter in UFC. But before obviously fighting him, he studied up and looked at how he could actually beat him because of his speed, his ability to evade punches and counter. what he figured out was just overload his nervous system, make him flinch so much that eventually his muscles are like starting to like contract and not really able to move much. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
Did you guys see the I'm gonna talk so much shit now, but did you guys see the post?
That's no different from any other time.
Yeah, I can't remember who posted it, but they were talking about why there's so many UFC champions from West Africa. Apparently malaria attacks a certain fiber in the muscle or something that ends up something about reaction times or some shit like that, and it actually makes their ability to react a lot quicker if they've had malaria in the past. It was super strange, and
that's interesting.
Yeah, I have no idea how true that is.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. But anyway, from an endurance standpoint, man, I just think Ngannou's going to struggle. He's got so much muscle too. That burns energy very quickly.
Somebody to link Africa's unbridled success with a disease. For fuck's sake, Oaks. Really?
Yeah. Has Ngannou had malaria? I wonder.
But this,
my brother, you don't want to know.
But this is why it's interesting. Is a lot of people, a lot of the success comes out of West Africa. And that's why they say, because malaria is such a rampant thing in West Africa versus anywhere else in Africa, that they've kind of narrowed it down to something from that. But I can't imagine it being true or whatever it is. But it's weird.
I'm actually going to Google that. I'm going to Google that.
Yeah, it's super weird.
What that's all about.
I'll share it with you. I found it somewhere. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah. All right,
boys. The past weekend, last Friday night, we had a big bout take place. That was between Ryan Bader and Lyoto Machida in the light heavyweight Grand Prix in Bellator MMA, which we previewed in the last episode. Darth versus the Dragon. Shaun, why don't you take us through a blow-by-blow account of that fight?
All right, guys. I'm disappointed us. I didn't watch that fight. I've got no excuses. Life happens and you get busy and you don't get to watch all the fights that you want to watch.
Basically, what Shaun's saying is he doesn't care about martial arts.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Sold down the river.
Tell us. What's the blow-by-blow? What happened? Machida won the last one. KO, second round. What happened this time?
Take it away, Craig. It's all yours.
So we're currently sitting at a 1-1. Bader won it on decision. I mean, the guy's a machine. Jay and I were talking earlier, and it would be interesting to see Bader come back to UFC. I mean, the guy is a monster. Like he's a machine, and he took Machida down easily. Like the takedown, he literally like tackled him off his feet, and it looked easy for him. Super crazy.
But do you think? I mean, Machida's on the wrong side of prime.
40.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's definitely a factor. However, he came in hot, man. Machido's first round, he won the first round.
Yeah,
he was throwing body kicks. He landed a flush head kick. To the left side, to the left jaw of Bader, and he was just fighting on the outside, sticking and moving, and he had a great first round. And then
I have to watch it, man.
In the second round, Bader took him down, and he just couldn't get up. He kept him on the ground.
He just mauled him for the rest of the
beautiful control. And that every round early, he'd take him down against the fence, and he would just go to work.
Man, that's beautiful. I'm gonna have to watch it.
But it blows my mind. I don't care how well you train. How do you take a kick to the jaw like that and still stay standing? I mean, that is a flush kick to the face.
Did he move with it?
He took it in the face, standing still. I don't care who you are.
It looked flush, yeah. To Craig's credit, it looked flush as fuck.
Yeah.
It didn't even wobble him.
Yeah. I mean, it's all got to do with the angle as well. Remember, we said that in a previous podcast. It's got to do with how the head rotates as well. If the head does that, you're more likely to get knocked out. So it's normally this point over here on the jaw because it's the longest.
The button.
It's the button.
The switch.
Exactly. So, but if it's flush, it's someone just like being hit in the side of the head.
But with a swing that's coming through twice the speed of
was it a leading
arm?
Was it a leading leg?
No, I think it was.
No,
I think
it's round, like over.
Roundhouse.
Okay.
Over.
it was over. Right.
Lovely.
Facts, yes.
Wait. Before we carry on,
Facts.
what makes it a roundhouse kick? I always thought a roundhouse kick came from around behind.
I don't know, Jay. You?
Craig, rather speak and leave the actions.
Okay.
This is an audio podcast.
So roundhouse, I always thought you almost turn your back to the guy and your leg comes through with your ankle leading, with your heel leading. Sorry.
Try that.
Never mind what I just said. Yeah. So in essence, yes. I mean, you're technically correct. A roundhouse kick is a kick that comes around the side. So it's not a front kick that comes flush face on or forward.
Like a teep kick.
In essence, it's using your hips to rotate. It's rotating your hip flexors.
Okay, yeah, but this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying forward kick. You've got the kick that comes from the side. You're in essence round, and you're kicking with the top of your foot. But I thought only the roundhouse kick is when it comes from behind with your heel, like coming the opposite direction around.
Oh, you mean?
Oh no, that's a spinning.
That's a spinning back kick.
Okay, so that's not even a roundhouse.
You get two things. You get a spinning back kick and you get a spinning wheel kick. So a spinning back kick is essentially turning with your leg, with your knee bent and kicking out and using that sort of momentum of your body. Joe Rogan's like a horse. Yeah. Joe Rogan's very well known for that kick, but then you also get a spinning wheel kick, which is something that what's his name uses very often in the UFC. Fought recently, the kicker, karate guy as well. But essentially that is the one that you'll see in like movies where the guy's leg is straight, essentially. It just does a big swoop around and yeah, you knock.
I always thought that was a roundhouse kick, but anyway, all right, cool. Moving on.
Roundhouse is forward.
Every day is a school day.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right.
Okay, so Ryan Bader will now take on the winner of Corey Anderson versus
Bless you.
Hold on, let me try that again. Dovletsan Yagshimuradov.
I'm on the show. We want to hear what you have to say. Say that again.
I decline to acquiesce that request. Which is set to go down next Friday at Bellator 257. Vadim Nemkov is also fighting Phil Davis on that card in the other quarterfinal. So those will happen then. And then the last quarterfinal is probably the most exciting, which is Rumble Johnson versus Yoel Romero.
I'll be watching that.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's going to be massive. Do you know that in addition to winning the light heavyweight title in Bellator MMA by virtue of this tournament, they will also get a grand prize of $1 million. Which is pretty cool.
What's John Jones demanding for his fights?
$50 million.
Imagine.
Yeah. I was just about to say, I think Mayweather's last fight, that doesn't even cover the interest.
We should explore that, right? And do chat about that in a future show. Talk about what the fighters actually earn. I mean, I don't know if we could ever know for sure, but we can definitely dig deep and come up with some, what the base salaries are for the different levels of fighters and the disparity between entry-level fighters in the UFC, for example, and the top guys like John Jones, like Conor, and maybe even in boxing as well, because that's pertinent.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
there's a big disparity just between MMA and boxing as well.
Maybe we'll put that onto a blog post. I think people will enjoy actually reading the stats and seeing what we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you look at it alone, just the Mayweather Conor fight, everyone was surprised that Conor made 70 million, 60 million, somewhere there on that fight. If you look at what Mayweather made just off the fight, the promotion, the advertising he had, everything, I think he cleared 320 something million. Just on that fight.
Yeah, Conor made close to 100 million.
Yeah,
on that fight.
So, but I mean, Mayweather knows what he's doing to make money, man.
Which is easily twice what he's ever made in the UFC.
Oh yeah.
In fact, before that, it was probably quadruple. He was even saying himself he quadrupled his net worth in one fight.
Yeah.
After that, this is how Conor's raised the game, right? Because after that, he allegedly earned close to 50 million for the Khabib fight,
which is
unprecedented.
Yeah.
For an MMA
In
fight,
MMA.
that's huge.
Exactly.
That's huge.
But someone like Connor, you don't mind paying that kind of price because pay-per-views are just always through the roof.
Yes.
Anytime
but
he's on
remember, the
card.
majority of that revenue, or the majority of what he earns within that 50 million, or I would say a very large portion, comes from his pay-per-view points, comes from his pay-per-view percentage. So yeah, it's all relative, I guess, from a pay-per-view perspective. Okay, so I want to discuss something a little bit different. CrossFit. Now, I don't know a lot about it. I'm hoping you guys can shed some light. Have any of you ever done CrossFit?
I did one class and I vomited.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So yes, I've done CrossFit. I've done every format that has grown from CrossFit. There's the F45 that's originated from the same principle. That's what Mark Wahlberg created, I think it's under his umbrella. There's so many different things. It's just all based on functional training.
Okay, so there's some experience here because I've never done it. I've watched a few classes. I've followed the hype around its popularity explosion, but I've never participated. Now, I've had a few questions and a few conversations around CrossFit as a fitness base for MMA or for martial artists in general. Now, what I know about CrossFit is that, like Craig says, it's very functional. It's rooted in functional strength. It's rooted in metabolic conditioning. It's rooted in mobility and flexibility. The workouts are high intensity interval trainings. And I guess that's where my knowledge ends. Now, the training that I do from a conditioning perspective for boxing seems very similar to what I understand CrossFit to be, in which case I would have to argue with my limited knowledge that it is a very decent base. Obviously, CrossFit is a discipline on its own, so it's never going to be what you should train exclusively for your strength and conditioning and fitness workouts if you're a fighter. But especially for amateur fighters who might not have personalized programs put together for them to use. Is CrossFit a good base for MMA and martial arts?
So yes, from a fitness perspective, 100%, because it's functional fitness. You guys always keep giving me shit about functional fitness versus strengthening fitness. If you're going to talk functioning fitness, absolutely. I almost threw up my first 3 classes. So yeah, I mean, I was.
Well, you did better than Shaun.
Yeah.
Then.
No, I was knackered, man. That is rough. And the interesting thing about CrossFit and boxing and fighting in MMA in general is the workout, the intensity of the workout is determined by you. So if a class starts getting too easy, it means you're not pushing hard enough because you're timed. So if you've got 30 seconds to do a certain workout and you're doing 12 push-ups every single time and it's getting easier and easier and you're not getting past 12 push-ups, that means you're not pushing yourself further to get more tired. That means you're not going to progress. So literally each class can be it'll kill you if you push yourself hard enough.
And it scales that way, which is cool.
Exactly. So like I've got a mate here in Dubai who does functional classes with me and he is shredded. He's way more fit than me and he still comes out of a class blowing. He can't breathe because he still pushes to the next level.
So that's what you mean by it scales.
Yeah. Same thing as boxing. However hard you push yourself in those 45-minute training is what you're going to get out of it. So yeah.
Let's look at two of the best fighters that the UFC's had. Yeah, quick math. The Diaz brothers. What do they do in their spare time? They're triathletes.
Smoke weed.
Smoke weed too. That too. I mean, they're triathletes, and it's not to say that it's the same as CrossFit, but it's very much cardio based. It's very much it's stamina related. You're trying to lift that threshold that you'd use during your gas tank, essentially, that you're emptying during a fight. And both those brothers can go an entire 5-round fight without gassing. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think CrossFit is a decent base, but like you said, it's an art form altogether. It's its own sport. You could use it as a good functional strength, maybe routine that maybe they dedicate a day or two a week to it. But yeah.
So where CrossFit falls short from what the Diaz brothers train is impact. So what you'll find is a lot of guys have to quit CrossFit after 2 years of training. The joints take a massive hit. So because it's jumping on and off of boxes, it's all this literally your joints, it hurts after a while. And for people like me, it's not so bad because I only weigh 70 kilograms, but I know people that are 100 kilograms and they said after a year of CrossFit, they were done. Their knees and their ankles and stuff just can't handle it anymore.
I don't know, that kind of seems a little, I mean, it's a very young, relatively speaking, it's a very young movement. It's a very young discipline. So maybe only time will tell. That seems a bit counterintuitive to me because CrossFit places a lot of emphasis by virtue of its full body movements and total body workouts on flexibility, mobility, and the strengthening of joints, the strengthening of tendons and form. Isn't that, I mean, I get what you're saying. And I also think that, this, for me, this is one of the potential drawbacks of CrossFit as a martial arts space, is that because you redline yourself with maximum effort and maximum heart rates and maximum intensity and every session, your fatigue is huge. And that's why you see, like massive guys laid out on the floor, gasping for life after every single session. So that for me might be a drawback in MMA training because you might not, you're potentially not leaving room for any other kind of training that day, even if that's the kind of intensity and effort that you're exerting, which
you'd have to commit an entire day to it. Yeah.
Which for MMA, potentially isn't the best thing because you want to achieve the best possible results and the most results with the least effort possible.
Yeah.
However, it seems a bit counterintuitive to me that after 2 years, for example, people are pulling up and being like, shit, I can't do this anymore. It's too hard on my joints. And if you're doing CrossFit properly with the correct form, is form not maybe an issue?
So this is where the problem comes in, right? So you push yourself every single lesson. If you're doing it right, you're doing a 45-minute session, 25 minutes in, you're already knackered. You're already thinking about how the hell am I going to get to the end? If you're doing it right, that's what you end up doing. And those last 15 minutes, when you're doing box jumps, do you think you're coming off the box right every time? No, it's you're slogging through it.
That's more of a blight on the practitioners of CrossFit and the discipline itself.
It's more about the average human being. I'm not talking about the Mayweathers of the world who probably go through a 45-minute session pushing themselves fully and you'll still have perfect form at the end. But the average human being trying to get through CrossFit is a mean task, man. And I would recommend it. CrossFit is an incredible training, but I wouldn't say that, like Shaun said, it's something on its own. If you're going to do it as practicing for fighting and stuff or trying to get fit for fighting, there are better ways of getting fit. There's a lot of HIIT trainings that don't require a lot of impact. I mean, for example, Shaun and I have played extensive amounts of squash. That is a sport you think that doesn't have any impact, and you're working joints, you're working turning quick movements. And how many adults that play squash say they have knee problems, ankle problems, all kinds of problems because of the impact of getting around the court. So I think it's pure. It comes down to I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if for a casual, I don't know if it's worthwhile doing something like CrossFit because you have to really commit a lot of time to it. And also remember in martial arts, it's not all about having the world's best stamina. It's also got to do with being as efficient as possible. So trying to, it's a bit of a paradox, because in one sense you do want to be able to, when it comes down to it, outlast someone, because in a jiu-jitsu fight or match, it's usually the guy who can keep going, push the momentum, that's going to win that bout, or win the fight, or win the match. But when it comes to just essentially training, most guys are going to go for being more efficient than being more stamina rich. I don't know how else to explain it. Yeah.
I think the other thing is, like, you have workouts of the day, right? In CrossFit, which are completely random. So by virtue of that as well, there's no real plan to it in terms of a measured approach to achieving a specific goal. The thing that I do like, go for it.
Sorry, just on that exact point, the only thing they're measuring is weight loss. So that is the biggest aspect of why CrossFit was created, was the idea of surprising your body is what yields results in weight loss. So, for example, I know a runner who runs the marathon, or the what do you call it? The marathon in South Africa, the long one.
Comrades.
The Comrades Marathon. The guy literally has a belly. He runs 20 kilometers every single morning for training, cannot get skinny purely because of habit. It's his body knows that he's going to do this, but he eats normally and everything. He just never gets skinny. And they base this whole thing of, you need to keep your body guessing as to what's going to happen next and keep burning fat. And I think it's clever what they've done.
So it's more literally weight loss oriented rather than functional strength for martial arts.
Yeah.
But still, though, I mean, lifting things, doing the things that you do in martial arts, I think it's still applicable to a certain extent. But Jay, you also pointed out it's an art on its own.
Yeah, I think what they're also looking to do is keep you young. So the idea is meant to be, when you're 40 years old, you're training all these different movements that apply to different things you do in your everyday, like picking stuff up, carrying it out the house, pushing a pram, all kinds of random shit that you do as a human being. That's what CrossFit's meant to build. So it makes your day-to-day life easy. It's functional. Sense. It makes you more functional as a human being.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Think about that. Yeah.
But
that's cool. I mean,
it's cool base to live your life on. But that's why I say, as a base for fighting, I think it requires far too much time and investment to make it your base of everything.
To be practical, yeah.
Well, for listeners, we're not trying to bash or trash CrossFit in any formal way.
No, I still do it.
I love CrossFit.
We're speaking about it in a very specific context. The biggest thing that I take out of it is with the intensity that it brings, and the constant velocity and crazy reps and everything is actually twofold. Number one, it's the mental fortitude that it builds, because apparently it has like ridiculous amount of reps and ridiculous amount of sets that seem impossible at the beginning of the workout. You're like, what? There's no possible way that I can do this in this time, for example.
Yeah.
And when you're in it, you're just in it, and you just kind of have to do what's in front of you and get to the next one and get to the next one. And by the end of it, you look back and you're like, holy shit, I can do this. And I did do it. And that builds a mental fortitude of sorts. The second thing is the anaerobic endurance that it builds, especially from the point of view that you're operating at your lactic threshold the entire time, right? You're basically building so much lactic acid in the way that I understand it is that from a lactic threshold perspective, at least, is lactic acid is produced as a response to supply your muscles with energy when your body cannot supply your muscles with enough oxygen. And that fucking hurts. But if you operate consistently at that threshold, you can push that threshold and become a lot more comfortable in it. And in fighting and martial arts, that's a big advantage. That kind of thing is what's going to help you not gas out during a fight and be able to push through and be able to last. So those are the two things that I take from it. I don't know how valuable that information is.
So so the thing about CrossFit is they've also created their own world. So people who have taken on CrossFit as a training, they've also taken it on as a sport. So for example, when I've started training in CrossFit, I immediately started doing the Spartan races. Like we've got Spartan here in South Africa, they have the warrior race, etc. So it's a race where you run 15 to 20 kilometers. And in those 15 to 20 kilometers, there's about 30 to 35 physical challenges where you got to pull a bag up, or you got to carry a bag over a sand dune, or whatever it may be. You're taking what you've learned of the last year of training and applying it to an actual race. And that's when, like I said, they've created their own little atmosphere of where you can apply these skills. And that's what I'm saying. They've dedicated so much time to the training of it that they needed to put a place to show what you're going to use it for instead of your everyday life. But the thing is, you're doing that event once a year, twice a year, maybe. If you had to do that every day to also fit in a boxing training, which is hugely taxing on on your body, I can't imagine you getting the best out of either of those trainings, depending on which you do first.
Yeah, fair.
So I guess the general consensus is it's good for martial artists as a base, but it's not ideal. I know there's a couple of guys in the UFC. I know Chris Cyborg loves CrossFit. There's a multiple BJJ world champion, Rubens Cobrinha Charles, who loves CrossFit as well.
You see, Chris Cyborg, you can't really attribute your success to that. She's got a hard fucking head.
Fair enough. Okay, so if we are wrong, if there are CrossFit practitioners or martial artists who have used it to great effect out there, please hit us up.
Mitchell Lucas, we want to see in the comments because you're a CrossFit fiend.
It doesn't really help that he's not a martial artist.
Okay? He rates himself as a bit of a pub brawler like me. So
we'll set something up. Boys.
Set something up, bro.
Quick and easy.
Yes, sir.
All right, boys, let's move on.
In the last episode, Shaun, you said something that tickled me. And I want to get into it.
Love tickling you, Jay. Love tickling you, bro.
I can't remember the context, but you said something to the effect of the fact that why do fighters turn professional and fight in the major organizations, in the biggest promotions in the world? There was one main overarching reason. What was it?
The money. Show me the money.
Okay, so
how'd you like that?
Why do people fight? And why do people turn professional and fight in these big organizations, in these big promotions? Please explain your point of view.
Okay, so I've actually now that you nice, Greg.
Thanks for your contribution. Telling.
Yeah, that's about it. It's about right up there.
Yeah.
So I've actually been thinking about the reasons people fight. As martial artists, one, the fact that we love combat, we love measuring ourselves, testing our abilities, and doing that within an arena that pays you to do that. So there's two perspectives here. One being there's always going to be a money factor involved. No one's going to fight. There are going to be backstreet fights. There's people are always going to be driven to combat, but to actually make an income from it, I mean, we're very fortunate that people can actually do that now. So on one hand, people are driven to create these controversies and these stories and these dramas around their fights. I mean, McGregor and Poirier recently is the most obvious version of that. I mean, and two people who, not necessarily two people that you wouldn't expect it from. I mean, I would expect it from McGregor, but Poirier, I would never expect the sort of theatrical output that he's doing at the moment. It's all for the money. It's all about the pay-per-view, but he doesn't seem like that type of guy. But when it comes down to it, he's a fighter. He's a brawler. He didn't start out making a lot of money. He started out, again, backstreet fights. He would be told in the morning, by the way, you're fighting tonight. Oh, who am I fighting? This guy. I don't know what weight class he is, but you're fighting him. That's the type of that's the type of environment fighters come up in. So there's two perspectives. And I suppose it's equivalent to any sort of occupation. You start out as an intern, basically doing what you're doing for free, because ideally, if you're doing an internship, you're doing it in a company that you want to work your way up in. So it's a product you want to sell. It's a service you're interested in. It's something you're passionate about. And you start off as an intern, not making any money and putting your heart and soul into it. Okay. But then you get to, and it's all with the goal in mind that you want to be able to make a full-time income from something you really, really enjoy doing. Same principle applies to fighting. You do it for the passion, and eventually you end up doing it for the money, like anything. Now, whether professionals are still doing it for the passion or the money, I think it's a bit of both. The guys that normally move away from fighting, they come back for two reasons. Either they're hungry for the competition, they're hungry for that. They're hungry for the fight, or they just need the money. And we've seen that. We've seen those two cases pan out over and over again. A lot of guys just want to come back and test themselves. GSP said if he was invited back at the right moment to fight Khabib, he would do it if the money was right and if the fight was offered. So, one, to test himself against one of the best in the world, but two, to obviously make money from it. Why wouldn't you? If you're getting beaten up, losing brain cells, I might as well make some money from it.
Craig does that for free.
But yeah. What about the third reason of touching other men? So it's a good time. No?
It's a good time.
So,
Shaun, you seem to have softened your stance a little bit.
Yeah.
And consequentially taken some of the wind out of my sails.
I'm sorry. Yeah. The only reason is, sorry to interrupt you there, Craig. The only reason is because of this recent podcast that I listened to with GSP and Joe Rogan. Just listening to the way that he talked about fighting and the way that, and why he would come back if he were to come back. One of the things was he just got back to the gym after not having trained for a while during COVID. And one of the coaches there where he trains basically said to him, dude, you've got the hands, your hands are back. Like it's looking good. And he's like, dude, if Khabib came up right now, I would take that fight now. So it's got less to do with the money for him in that sense, and more to do with, I'm going to test myself. I'm at that stage. I'm still prime. I can still beat the alpha. I can still beat that top dog. But obviously money needs to be there. I'm not going to put my name, my reputation, everything, because everything, remember, his health as well. But remember, all the income a fighter makes after their career is based on the success they had during the career. So
like most athletes.
Like most athletes, exactly. So you don't want to damage your legacy, because one loss, who's going to be interested in you? No one. You're just going to be some has-been fighter. It's bad to say. And as much as we wish this wasn't the case, as soon as someone loses, I mean, look at Adesanya. We haven't heard about him in how many weeks now since he lost? And it's not his, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not his fault. I mean, he did go up a weight class, but he lost. And the only time we're going to start talking about him again is when he makes a big splash. That's just how it works in the fight world. It's all about entertainment. The people that are there to watch are the people that are going to pay, and that's who you're trying to entertain. And that's why there's a lot of controversy around fights going to the ground and fights going. I mean, wrestling. That's why wrestling. Normal Greco wrestling became the WWE, the WWF, because the original wrestling that they were doing, the fights were just too long and people were injuring themselves, like career-ending injuries during those wrestling tournaments or those fights that were supposed to be entertaining. It wasn't a very good business model. So eventually they started to change things up. They had to choreograph things. They had to make storylines. So in the end, it is all about the money in the long run, because it is your career, but you do start out with a hungerness, and that, according to GSP, that hungerness doesn't go away. He wants to still measure himself, even today. Even he would come out of retirement to fight Khabib if he was asked at the right moment, and that's passion. That's got nothing to do with money.
So yeah, I mean, you could see that with people like Derek Lewis. Put anyone in front, he's like, just send me a name and we'll schedule it in. He's like, I just want to fight. Book it next week. He really doesn't care. He's like, if he gets a chance to fight, I mean, when he found out that John Jones wanted 50 million, he's like, shit, I'll do it for 8. he's like, I don't care.
Donald Cerrone, dude. Donald Cerrone will take anyone. He'll take any fight that comes along, and he doesn't need the money.
Yeah.
He just loves fighting. So
Yeah.
to say
For the love of God, Shaun, it's for the love of the fight.
So you say that. Now, here's the flip side of the coin. This is what Connor said in one of his posts was, if I gave one of the fighters in the UFC a week of my wages, none of them would fight again.
You'd never see them again, 100%.
So I don't know how true that is, but I mean, I think a lot of them still have that hunger to fight.
I think, I mean, it was a classic Mystic Mac.
Yeah.
And I think most of it was said in jest. What I want to get to is, how can you make somebody understand the love of the fight who has never fought? Let me put it this way. A lot of people will say that Conor McGregor only fought Floyd Mayweather for the money, right? And now, don't get me wrong, I love money. They don't call me J Money Madewell for nothing. But when people when people say things like that, I often will get very defensive and try and make them understand that. Let's do it. Let's put it this way. If it's the night before the Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather boxing match, right? The biggest combat sports event of our time, at least up until now. Let's say all the money that was involved in that fight somehow gets pulled the night before. And the promoters and the organizers go to both men and they say, gents, there is no money on the line. You are not getting paid for this fight. Do you honestly think that both men's response would be to turn around and say, well, okay, then I'm not fighting?
Mayweather pulls out.
I think so too. He's got something to lose.
He's a businessman.
He's got something to lose.
He's a businessman with a reputation that he if he fights for free, that hurts his reputation of being the man who rakes in money.
Out. Yeah,
that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Do you think he would not want to fight Conor McGregor?
I know, yeah.
He'd want to.
I agree.
Yeah.
I probably agree that Mayweather probably would have pulled out because of his brand, because of his image, because he's a very shrewd businessman. But come on, deep down, you can't tell me that he wouldn't be going, to get at this man.
Especially this trash talker who gave him so much shit in the press conferences ahead of time. That might have been, he probably would have taken that fight for free in the end, purely with the aggravation that Conor gave him leading up to that fight.
He really did go at him, man.
You wanted to kill him by the time. Now this, I think there's multiple factors that come into this. If you told someone the night before they were going to go up against Mike Tyson that they're going to do it for free, they're pulling out. If you're going to go up against Mayweather, okay, I'm going to go stand in the ring with someone like that and do my best. But
that's
you're risking your life.
Yeah, but if you're Francis Ngannou or Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua,
I suppose
it's all relative, because you go, you know what I mean, you're playing in your space.
Yeah.
Conor and Floyd is actually a perfect example in a different way. Do you think that both of those men need money?
No.
You're talking about two of, if not the two highest paid combat sports athletes that have ever lived.
One of them is the highest paid athlete of all time.
Why else would you come back to fight after you've been retired? GSP. The GSP need the money? I don't know. Obviously, he's not in the same echelons as these two guys that we're speaking about. But I mean, do you know what I mean? He came back because he wanted to fight. Because in fighters, there is a love of the fight. There is a passion that is nigh undescribable to people who have never experienced it. And I don't mean that in a condescending way in any form. I just struggle to make people understand that this is a real thing that exists, and that when people say fighting is all about the money and that's the only reason people do it, hey, there are people like that, but they are exceptions to the rule. They are outliers. That is not the general case. And I've seen it across sport. There was a guy, a footballer who used to play for Tottenham Hotspurs by the name of Benoit Asukoto. Now, us three also, we all love football. We grew up in love with football, probably even way before and more intensely than martial arts even.
For the Americans, that's soccer.
Soccer, sorry. and you know, our mindset was you would play pro football for free. You don't, if you could play for Manchester United, for example, every week, you wouldn't give a fucking shit. You do that shit for free. Of course you would, you know what I mean? So your mindset is that everyone else thinks the same. You play sport, especially, and you play football because you love it. And that's what drives you to the zenith of the game, where you can become a professional and get paid to do what you love. Except Benoit Asukoto, this guy was a mercenary, right? He would openly state that he's not a professional footballer because he loves it or even because he enjoys it. He's a professional footballer because he's fucking good at it and he gets paid a shitload of money. And I was like, is this guy sick in his head? Like, how can you speak that way and basically shit all over the dreams of millions of people around the world who only care about football? Like, that is their whole life. But that is their reality. I maintain that is a big exception to the rule, especially in fights.
No, I 100% agree. So we mentioned Conor's statement earlier, but if he gave his week's wage to someone in the UFC, they would all just stop working. I disagree with that purely from the fact that the amount of work that took them to get to the UFC alone meant a drive and a passion that doesn't just die when you get a paycheck. And if you apply this across the board to anything, Cristiano Ronaldo, greatest footballer of all time, paid more than any other footballer and still can't walk away from the game and still scoring, can't help it. Eminem, greatest rapper of all time, sold more albums than anyone else. If you had to take the money away today, he'd still make an album tomorrow. There is a passion that is instilled there that you cannot kill. And
is that Mike bugging you, Greg? You've knocked it 3 times in 10 seconds.
It's standing on top of a box, and I keep hitting the box while I'm talking. I talk with my hands.
What do you do with your hands?
I don't know what to do with my hands. So I think when you reach the top echelons of any sport, art, whatever it may be, you only get there through the pure drive of passion, and the outcome is income. And same thing with the I mean, Jay, you and I live by that idea of the harder you work, the luckier you get, even in corporate jobs, and people notice, and the outcome is income, and we do it for the income, but we love what we do.
Yeah, it's always going to be there. Of course it is. It's a human driving force. It's way more deep-seated than combat sports and the UFC or fighting or even sport. It's, you know what I mean? It's a human drive, and it's always going to be there. It's a necessity. It's a requirement. And there will, in certain cases, be a massive love of money. That is a huge motivating and driving force, especially in the top levels of professional sport, where you get paid shitloads of money.
Fighting is an entertainment
motivation. It is not the motivation for the majority of athletes who have a competitive, burning desire that exists in their very core. That doesn't go away when you just start earning a shitload of money.
Yeah. So it takes a specific kind of person who wants to earn money by putting their life on the line every time they get into the ring.
Shaun, that's prize fighting, right?
Job,
you should be expected to get paid shitloads of money for putting your life on the line every time you step into a ring, on the mats, in a cage. That's prize fighting.
Yeah, that's it. So, I mean, prize fighting has been around forever, and it's always been about, I mean, there was that Jack Dempsey, that meme that was going around about the fact that he would let you punch him in the head with a sledgehammer for $2 because he was so hungry. So this is for some people, they don't do office jobs. For some people, it's in their blood. They're warriors. If we were living 1,000 years ago, they'd be on the battlefield because they love it. They'd be killing people in wars because they love it. They wouldn't be at home making swords. They'd be using the swords. So to think that those sorts of people don't exist today, and don't try to find a way of monetizing that drive, that hunger inside. I mean, everyone tries to monetize their most loved passion. They're getting to do that now. And in MMA, I mean, it's the pinnacle of, to me, it's the pinnacle of sports. Every sport escalates into a fight, and
so remove the love of money. And so, for example, talk about Conor, right? Started with no cash, worked his way up through the UFC, became a double champ. What is the next recognizable way of measuring success?
Legacy.
He needs to step out. Like, he needs to decide.
No. He became double champ. What is the next format of measuring his success?
How he impacts the community. So here's the thing.
Money is 100% the next level.
How is more? How is more better?
Impact. No. He, by that time, he hadn't earned what he had earned off the Mayweather fights. When he became double champ, the only next logical step of measuring how successful you are is money. And that's why he went for, okay, how can I make money to prove I am the greatest now?
I mean, that's it. That's why.
No.
I agree.
I completely disagree.
I agree. Why did Facebook buy Instagram? For the money. They're big giants. They act.
I'm not okay. So, Craig, basically what we're speaking about is his move out of
No. I think that he genuinely wanted to test himself in a different realm.
I mean, he was a boxer.
100% definitely wanted to test himself. But the next natural step in his first double champ of all time. How else can you recognize that he's the most successful fighter of all time? Become the richest
boxer of all time. No, beat the greatest boxer of all time.
I know you think he went to the ring. I know you think he went to the ring that he believed that he'd win. And
of course he did. 1,000%.
I'm sure he did. But it's
my popcorn.
It's popcorn.
He walked in there convinced that he had a shot. But there is at least a 1% doubt in his head that he's going up against the best boxer of all time. You don't walk into a different career and think that you're just going to...
Listen, at the time, he was probably in the top 3 pound for pound fighters in the world. So at the time, the way that he was feeling, and after the results that he had achieved, and everything surrounding him and his career and his ability, he was at the top of the mixed martial arts game.
Yeah, and he walked into a different ring where he only had 2 weapons instead of 8.
No one knew, dude. You can say what you want now in hindsight, but no one had a clue, because something like that, to that scale, with those type of athletes, elite level athletes, had never happened.
You say no one knew, but my bank account felt much better the next day.
Yeah, for those who don't know, there was a pretty big bet on the line for this fight between these two.
Anyway, if we can encapsulate this debate,
we can talk about this all the time.
I'm going to end this off with a famous quote from the great Braveheart William Wallace. You know, he once said, "They may take our lives, but they will never take our fortune."
Oh my God.
All right, boys. This weekend coming up, we have 2 big fights. We have Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum in the UFC middleweight division. And we also have the pseudo event of celebrity YouTube influencer Jake Paul versus MMA former world champion. I'm
gonna cut you off right there. You call it the pseudo event, but which one of the two? Which one of the 2 that you just mentioned, people are talking about more?
It's a good point, I guess. Look, but you know what? The cool thing about these celebrity crossover events is that they divide opinion.
Oh yeah.
So whether you love them or you hate them, everyone's
You're talking about
you know what the coolest thing about them is they exist. The fact that we get to watch these cool events.
It is cool, right?
It is cool, man.
Some people hate on them hard. Like some people are like, oh, anyone who's promoting this shit, you're a bunch of idiots. You don't deserve to watch real boxing. You shouldn't be anywhere near the sport.
So
they
yes,
sound like golfers.
Yeah.
So I agree with that, and I think Paul beats.
I want to be like them. Yeah.
I think Paul beats Askren, but in me, I hope that he absolutely destroys Paul, jumps into the ground, fucks up his brother. Like that's like I hope his whole YouTube channel crashes after that. Like there are things that just make you want to hate him, but like Tyson, sorry, but Mike Tyson said, these guys are the dream for the boxing world. Paul and them are the dream because that is traffic they've never had.
Yeah,
that is
good.
Traffic.
It's good. It's good for boxing. It's good for MMA.
Yeah. But we still hope Ben suplexes Jake Paul's boxing career into oblivion. I mean, let's be honest.
I'm excited about the Whittaker Gastelum fight.
Yeah. So we've got the number one. So Robert's still the number one middleweight contender in the UFC. Kelvin is moved up to number 8. They're both coming off big wins. So Robert Whittaker, who's actually an Aussie. Oh no, yeah. He's since his loss to Israel, when he lost the title to Israel Adesanya, he's beat Darren Till and Jared Cannonier.
Oh, he put his head in the fucking bendies, yeah. Put his head in the bendies.
In the bendies.
And Calvin's just recently beat Ian Heinz, which broke a 3-fight losing streak for him. So it's all poised. I think a big performance from either man puts them right in the running for potential title contention.
I think they both need a win here.
They both lose for the title.
They were both supposed to fight for the middleweight title back at UFC 234. And then Robert Whittaker. Robert
Whittaker.
Like, we can hear you fine when you sit still. Stop talking so fucking close to the mic. God damn it.
Oh, Jesus. Why does everything devolve into anarchy towards the end of our episodes?
You went for it again. Did you see that? You went for it again.
Listen, I've had a few. There's brand new next to me. It's a mess.
Guys, keep it together.
Keep it together. We're almost done.
We've got 5 more minutes.
It's all going downhill.
Okay, so we've got a very good fight on our hands. They were supposed to fight for the middleweight title. Robert Whittaker to pull out with a hernia the night before. Obviously, very different circumstances. Both men have lost a lot of fights since then, but credit to both of them, right? They're building themselves back into title contention. And they're both beasts. Great fighters, super entertaining.
So if either of them win, well, one of them has to, but so if they had to go up for the title, do you think either of them have what it takes to take the title?
Listen, they both fought Izzy before. Izzy's already beaten both of them.
Yeah.
But if you watch the Israel Adesanya versus Kelvin Gastelum fight, 5-round war.
Yeah, that is a fight, dude.
Top 4 or 5 best MMA bouts I've ever watched in my life.
So Gastelum's the only one out of the two you say has a shot.
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, I love Robert Whittaker. I think he's a great fighter. He also comes from a karate background, kickboxing background, great striker, very exciting. I think I would give both of them a chance if they fought Izzy. I just don't think they would beat him.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. Gastelum, it's one thing about Gastelum. He doesn't look like a fighter, dude. Like, he looks like a guy you'd see.
Boy.
Yeah, he's. But when he fights, he just keeps going and going and going, and his hands are quick. I'll give him that. His hands are extremely quick. But I would give this one to Gastelum, but I wouldn't give him Izzy. Izzy's
do you know what he does well, better than most people I've watched in the UFC, is fight. He can fight in the pocket. Like he I mean, how difficult is it to fight against somebody as long and as rangy as Israel Adesanya? He's probably come the closest to beating him in his UFC career, because he was able to eat the shots that he needed to get in and fight in the pocket.
Closing at distance. Izzy's dangerous with the kicks. That's the thing. Remember that green, red, green zone. You want to get as close to that close green zone as you can, because especially with Izzy, he's a kickboxer, dude. His main weapon is his legs. Okay, he's a striker too. He's an unbelievable striker. But if you can strike in the pocket, like Gastelum does, like a boxer does, man, that's something else.
Yeah, on the inside.
Yeah, on the inside.
Okay, so let's go with predictions for the Whittaker-Gastelum fight. Shaun?
Gastelum takes it.
Wow.
I think Gastelum takes it KO. I would say KO in the 3rd round.
I don't know, man. Bobby Knuckles. I'm gonna go with Robert. I'm gonna go with Whittaker. I think Robert goes the distance and beats him on points.
I say the same, but the opposite. So Gastelum takes him the distance, beats him on points. But reason I say that is I don't know if he'll beat him, but I want him to go up against Izzy next
to see that second fight.
That's why I would say he takes it purely because for the fans.
You want him to.
Yeah, I want him to go up against Izzy.
I think Robert Whittaker is the better martial artist, but going through what I've just said in terms of Kelvin's ability to fight on the inside in the pocket to close distance, I don't know, man. It's tough. I struggle with these predictions.
Yeah.
Anyway, last
that's the
thing.
beauty of a fight, man.
Wait. Paul, who wins?
No, that's what I'm going on to.
Okay.
Final predictions for Jake Paul, Ben Askren.
Paul, dude. Jake Paul will take it.
I think Jake Paul still takes it. And one of the reasons I say that as well now is because I really, it was irritating me, this fight. I needed to know more. And if you look into Jake Paul's work ethic, he's actually a fucking hard worker. No matter what he does, he works hard.
He's a nice guy. He's a very nice guy.
Yeah,
I don't know about that. I've dived
deeper into
his life.
He's a dickhead, but he's a nice guy. The thing is, whatever he does, whether it's his YouTube, but his YouTube career, anything he does wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
So I believe he's thrown everything into it.
I dove a little bit deeper into his life and his psyche. We've got tons of build up on this. There's a blog post on the website. There's clips from the previous episode. So go and check out our channels if you want to get some build up going. But I did a little research to put all of that together with you guys and for us. And the bottom line is Jake Paul was an athlete. He is an athlete, right? He played football in college, American football. You know what I mean? Every kind of athletic entity that he's devoted himself to, he's done really well in. And if you listen to him speak on a bunch of podcasts and stuff, he's boxing because he loves it. That is the only reason. It's a calling for him. How long that will last, who knows? But he is an athlete. He's doing this for the right reasons, and you've got to respect that. Having said that, go watch the face-off at the press conference. Right, this is one of the funniest, weirdest things I've ever seen. He dared Ben Askren to face off face to face without the glass window pane that they use now to face off.
Yeah.
To which Ben obliged. He came around. They had a face off. He said some shit to Ben, and as Ben was walking off, he face palmed Jake Paul in the face. And as he did that, Jake Paul kind of gave him this weird, half-hearted, reluctant love tap on his love handles,
a little body hook,
and then shoved him away. But it was the mark of a man who knows, number one, that if they had to get into a real fight, he would get proper fucked up.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And it is also a very big sign for me of reluctance and a lack of confidence. It was weird. I don't think it was something that he could have controlled, but I think there was some true colors shining through. Does that really influence my prediction? No, I still think Jake Paul is going to be the better boxer in there. But it's telling. Go have a look if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I love Ben Askren. I mean, he's an MMA pioneer. Not pioneer, but I mean, he's He's a wrestler, dude. He's a mixed martial artist. He's not the best striker in the world. I mean, even in MMA, he never really struck. You know what I mean? He never really punched or kicked. He was always trying to close the distance, get the guys to the ground. And he was a one championship champion because of it. But he's just not a boxer.
He was also NCAA wrestling champion. So
no hands.
That's what he specialized in. So but I think once again, I mean, Paul, like you said, he's filthy fucking rich. The guy doesn't need money. His family doesn't need. Those guys are all stinking rich on their own account. He boxes because he absolutely loves it, and that's what makes those guys so dangerous.
Yeah. And I'm happy. I'm happy that it's bringing more people into the sport, man.
It's cool. I love it. I'm definitely going to be watching. Final word before we must move on to a celebrity death match. The Conor McGregor Dustin Poirier trilogy is set.
Finally, dude. I was so scared that wasn't going to happen. I was so scared that wasn't going to happen.
It's going to be the end of the
Pay
world.
the money, Conor. Pay the money.
See?
500,000. Just pay it, you little bitch.
Give it to the children.
give it to the children.
Right, boys.
There would be an MMA gym.
Jay's not happy. Jay's not happy.
Yeah,
the McGregor fan.
Jay's not happy.
No.
There's no gym for the kids.
No. You've blindsided me here because you've brought this up right at the end of the episode and you don't have time to get into it.
We'll talk about it next week. It's fine.
Yeah, rest fucking assured we will.
He's already put it in the show notes for next week.
All right, I've got our celebrity death match here.
Yeah, tell us.
The matchup for this week is none other than Nicolas Cage versus the great Khali.
Kylie?
Minogue?
Listen properly.
Listen properly.
The great Khali.
I don't know who that is.
Okay.
your clarification meant nothing.
Failed. The great Khali is that fucking dwarf big guy in WWF.
Yes.
He also acted in The Longest Yard.
Okay.
Big ass Indian.
The Easter Island fucking head
mountain.
motherfucker.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I hope he never listens to this because the way we've just described him is horrendous.
He's a beast, yeah? Against who?
And Nicolas Cage.
Cage is, dude, he's crazy. I expect Cage to do some like eye pokes. That's the type of person I think he is.
I think there's maybe two people in the world who fuck up Khali. Have you seen the size of the man?
And he's not just a big motherfucker, like, he's a wrestler. He was a professional wrestler.
So he's physical.
No, but when you say big motherfucker, you're talking about a Goliath motherfucker. The guy is
massive.
He's one of the biggest guys in the world. And he's built. He's just pure muscle. He's not fat. He's not like the Big Show from WWE.
Imagine catching a push club from that.
That I could kill you. If that headbutted you all your generations before you die. Like that.
He's cast in movies because he's big. You know what I mean?
He's in the movie Get Smart. If you watch Get Smart, where they jump out of the plane. He flies after them. I mean, he lands without a parachute and he still fucks them up. Like, I don't know, dude.
I'll give it to him.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's as is, right? What about pound for pound? If the men were the same weight, roughly the same size and same frame. Now, bear in mind that Nicolas Cage, I'm reading here, studied martial arts for years under the guidance of the BJJ royalty, Royce Gracie.
I'll give it to Nicolas Cage.
Black belt in jiu-jitsu.
I take back what I just said. He wins all the things.
All the awards, all the fights,
all the things. Nicolas Cage takes all of them.
Unfortunately, dude, this is one thing I can say with jiu-jitsu is if you're fighting someone who doesn't know how to fight on the ground, it's like being in an ocean and not knowing how to swim. Unfortunately,
Even at a size difference of Nicolas Cage versus the Great Khali.
Yeah, but no. Fuck off. I disagree. So if you go up against Khali, if you try to take him to ground, he'll carry you around on his arm, even if you are Nicolas Cage size.
You don't go for someone's arms. That's that big. Are you mad? You go for his neck. You can't build the muscle around your trachea.
Shaun, he will have to
muscle,
he will have to run up a wall to get to the oak's neck. he is like
it's
he's
called
like
the Great Khali.
He is Jay. Quickly, just do a quick Google there. How tall is Khali? The guy's 7 foot, easy, over 7 foot.
We're in the end game now.
Yeah, no, listen, we've lost it now.
Honesty, he studied under Hoist Gracie.
He's 2.16 meters.
Yes.
Dude, what?
That is huge. No, in all honesty, I give it to, if Nicolas Cage is a black belt in jiu-jitsu under Hoist Gracie, and remember Hoist Gracie, he doesn't train BJJ, sport BJJ. He trains Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which is self-defense Jiu-Jitsu. He takes it, dude. He takes it.
Okay, but the Great Khali is 216 centimeters long. That's 7'1", and weighs 157 kilograms. That's 350 pounds.
Yes. Mate, that kicks you. You're dead. It is. I don't care if you're a black belt jiu-jitsu. That steps on your head. It's
Go
flat.
watch UFC. Go watch UFC 1, 2, 3, 4. Go watch those, and then
we spoke about it last week, right? About Royce Gracie fighting guys who are 150 kilograms plus and winning.
That's why
Yokozuna, or not Yokozuna, but the sumo wrestler.
But once again, Yokozuna was a fat shit. This guy is 7'1".
It's not Yokozuna. Yokozuna was the WWF sumo wrestler who used that name.
Yes, okay.
Speaking about a guy who he beat, who attained the rank of Yokozuna, which is the highest rank that you can attain in the martial art of sumo wrestling.
Fair enough.
Okay.
All right, everyone, shut the fuck up and let's get out of here.
Kylie wins it. Kylie wins it. Jay, you didn't give us you didn't give us a prediction.
Shaun, I struggle with this, honestly. So until such time as you beat somebody who's, 100 kilograms plus in a no holds barred fight.
Come to a Tuesday night at my gym.
I'm going to have to go with the Great Khali on this one.
Yeah, 100%.
As is, pound for pound, if Nicolas Cage is a BJJ black belt that studied under Royce Gracie, I will side with you and say that I've seen enough from BJJ and in the UFC and MMA to know that somebody on the ground is always going to win against somebody who doesn't have a ground game.
I agree. I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. But when it's as is, I don't know. The man is just a mountain on his own.
Let's get both of them on the next UFC game so we can simulate it.
Yeah, or Khali, come on the show. Tell us about your head.
All right, boys.
Let's drop it. Let's cut it. We'll be back next week. Bigger, better, faster, harder.
Yeah.
Stronger.
For all you out there, join Strictly Fighters here. What's up? Check you next week.